Steve and Terry had said to me on many occasions over the last few weeks, our hope is that you will feel deeply cherished by all of us on that day. And I want you to know that that's how I feel on this day. My heart is full. I wouldn't feel right not at least thanking and recognizing the many people that I worked alongside for over 25 years. One of them I think about is my secretary, Leslie Smith. I don't know where, there she is. Leslie's been with me 18, 19 years, and we're a good team together, and she has a wonderful ministry of helps. And that means that she really looks for ways to make my task easier. And she does it in all kinds of quiet ways that you just don't notice and can sometimes be taken for granted. But I thank God for her. When I invited her to come on board all those years back, I did not know, I only learned years later that her dream, her vision when she was young was to be a church secretary. I didn't know that. I also want to thank the music directors that we've had. Dick Morrow was there for, as he said, 16 years. And it was really difficult to watch him retire, but I think that it was time for him to do that, at least so his wife tells me. But the reason I trusted Dick is because I saw the quality of his work. And Dick did all kinds of things that were just taken for granted by people. It was really under his leadership that the coming together of the choir and the joyful noise just became like a seamless sort of entity. And that was because of him. Mike Fay, when I first asked Mike to be the organist, I think he wasn't sure that I was not just kidding him. But I believed in the potential that I saw in him, and I've watched him. You don't see him when he's down here practicing, taking lessons, studying under other organists, but he's really doing this to grow his ministry so that he can really serve the Lord and us. And now he's the music director, and I feel like I'm leaving that responsibility in good hands. I always used to kid that I said, it would be really nice if sometime you could play Fight On and just work it into the background. When I was at St. James, the organist was also from USC, and one time during the offertory hymn, I noticed there was a background, the strains of Fight On from USC. And it was so subtle that if you hadn't been a Trojan, you wouldn't have picked it up. But and then of course we used to joke about playing Tusk when the USC marching band played with Fleetwood Mac. So thank you for that today. That was the root of that. I think about the youth pastors that were here, going back to people like Lori Adams, Kendall George, who we were sharing with Chapel of the Hills, and we were able to do that because Pastor Len Sanukian and I were dear friends. And for me, Len was like having an older brother, but we were able to share Kendall. We had for many years Tracy De Leon, and then when Tracy was moving up to Seattle, I remember my son came to me and said that he'd like to be considered, and all I could think of, whoa, this looks like terrible nepotism. I also heard that another person, Rebecca Fisher, had expressed an interest in this. And the senior warden at the time was Lynn Bunting. And Lynn said, well, why don't we have them split the position, and it will take away any sense of nepotism. And so neither of them was happy with having to do that. They both grizzled at it. But they found that actually there was a great advantage in having both a male and female in terms of oversight of the youth ministry. And who would know that they would fall in love and marry, as they did here some 11 years ago. And that was one of the joys of being here, was to officiate at the wedding of my son and daughter-in-law. So you notice that the people that have worked on staff at Christ the King have long tenures, and there's a reason for that. It's because we try to work in a respectful atmosphere toward one another and value one another's ministry. And but somebody would know that I was concerned when they would feel the white-hot breath of God breathing down their neck. But I rarely ever had to do that, because people's ministries flourish in that kind of atmosphere. I want to say thank you to all the senior wardens that served with me over the years. Steve Bunting is simply the latest of many people that served in this. Some of them are here. Any of the senior wardens stand up? Well, Kurt can't stand up, but raise your hand. And there's Barbara and Lynn and John and Tony and Chris. And then serving with vestries over the year. If you were ever on the vestry, stand up. So, vestry